Hi, Kevin.
How's it going?
It's really great sitting here at your table with our greens. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have here?
Absolutely. Today on the plate we have some local from Whitaker's Farms in Sanford, Florida. There are some lettuces, some vine-ripe tomatoes, and some sunflower sprouts they grow themselves.
And how often do you get a delivery in to prepare a plate like that?
Every Saturday, very fortunate. They stop by the back door, they drop off the vine-ripes, heirloom tomatoes, lettuces, sunflower sprouts, and a grab bag of leftover herbs from the market they go to every Saturday.
Can you talk a little bit about that passion and that collaboration and how you find people and then how you continue to work together?
Well, foremost is my belief as a chef, and even cooking at my home is food is a very important part of your life. Don't put junk into your body or your body's going to perform junkily, lack of a better word. So I want to know where my food comes from. I'm not going to eat processed foods or chemically enhanced foods or GMOs. So basically, I respect my body, so I'm going to put good food into it. I have a long history of gardening in the family. From a small child in upstate New York, we gardened in the backyard. My grandfather had basil bushes outside his condominium in Florida, stuff on the fire escape in the Bronx. So gardening's always been a part of my life, a way of cooking. As a child in upstate New York, I'd run down to the garden, pull up the eggplant and the tomatoes and basil, and Mom would make eggplant parmesan based on the garden. So that was a way of life for me. So when I decided to become a chef, it was only natural that I continued the same policy of cooking, the same principle of cooking with farm fresh ingredients. So we started K with the whole premise of knowing where your food comes from, giving the guests of Orlando the best dining experience based upon the healthiest food possible. And with that, farmers flocked to me, I flocked to them, researched, and word of mouth got out, and here we are.
So going back to the childhood and 15,
Right.
didn't you begin working in a restaurant at age 15?
Yes, I did. I became a dishwasher first at 15. In high school, I'd work the weekends, and I go back and do all the dishes and hang out with the chefs. And I had an interest in cooking with the chefs, so I'd be back there peeling carrots and potatoes and dicing stuff while cleaning the dirty pots and pans and the dishes. And then one day the owner came to me and said, do you want to think you might want to learn how to cook? And I'm like, yeah, why not? It pays more. So automatically dollar signs went off. Okay, $2 more an hour, I'll do it. So on Tuesday nights, the chef gave me the restaurant to run myself. So this time I was like 16, and I was in charge of the restaurant on a Tuesday night.
Gosh.
So I ran Tuesday nights as a little 16-year-old kid in high school. I do the prime rib special and the garden salads and the fish of the day. And the waitresses really liked me, so they supported me. So they gave me the tools I needed to make sure the food was going out properly. The owner had trust in me. So from that point forward, I worked every Tuesday as the chef, became like their sous chef at 16. On the weekends, I'd be back there and prepping the meat, prepping the fish, and cooking and listening close to what they were saying. And then that stuck with me my whole life. Every job since then I had was food oriented.
So the bungalow craftsman, very homey,
Yeah.
front porch, fireplace,
Right.
the backyard garden.
Yes.
That all adds up to me, the Italian family root, and that this symbolizes who you are as a chef.
Well, people that come to the restaurant, it's very personal. They're eating my cuisine, my food, my interpretation of certain ingredients. So every plate that goes out, part of me is on that plate, a part of my belief, my concept, my idea. So you come in here and I have no more walls to put up. This is Kevin. Kay's main goal has been to be the best neighborhood restaurant as possible. I'm all about the neighbors, about the community. I'm not into a big food factory. I'm not looking to do millions and millions of dollars a year in this tiny little restaurant. Being financially stable is a plus. It's always the goal. But more so, I want people to come to have a great time, to have a fun night out, to kind of sit down, relax, and unwind, have some great food and great conversation.
Let's step out from the porch to the house to the backyard garden.
Okay.
How did that all come about, and what was originally your vision of that space?
Well, if we start from the garden, because that's probably the most important part of the restaurant, I believe, is where the food comes from. The old K location down the street, I got in trouble numerous times by the city for having too many pots on the sidewalk.
I did read that.
Even back then, I was a big grower, so I'd have herbs on the sidewalk, tomato plants, pepper plants, and even though people loved it, sometimes it got in the way of the sidewalk. I was too overly excited about it, I guess you can say. So I've always grew stuff. And when I got the location down here, the backyard was just a dirt ground, just a mess. So I'm like, ideally, I can grow something back here. So we worked on the soil for the first year. Added some organic compost, mushroom compost, tilled it, got the oxygen into the soil, and then started the garden about 7, 8 years ago, and a huge hit. It doesn't supply all the produce for the restaurant because the backyard's not that big, but it supplies about 10 to 15% at any given time during the year of the menu comes from the garden. People love that. It's also an opportunity for people to dine in the garden. A lot of times on the weekends, we have a couple of tables in the backyard that just hang out there, relax. I'll go out there and pick some lettuce right next to them, go into the restaurant, toss some vinaigrette, and bring it back out to them. So they know exactly where lettuce comes from, you know how it's grown.
So nice.
It even tastes better, I think.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who else do you locally farm with?
Well, we try to use as much as possible. Some of the big ones right now, of course, are Waterkiss Farms. There's Jim Wood from Palmetto Creek Farms in Sebring, Florida. There's Lake Meadow Naturals, which is a huge part of the menu. In fact, we just took the kids there yesterday on a field trip from school. Tomazin Farms in Samsula by Daytona Beach. We do as much local seafood as possible through Wild Ocean Market and Seafood Connections, local rock shrimp and local shrimp. There's just so many, it's just people that knock on my back door, my neighbors from behind us and friends. School kids from down the street come by with like, you know, a bushel of kale. There's Frog Song Organics from Gainesville. But I'm open up to anybody that knocks on the back door and says, hey Kevin, here's a bushel of kale, here's some carrots, here's some rosemary, here's some sage. I'll incorporate all that kind of stuff.
I did not know that. You're a backdoor kind of chef.
A backdoor kind of chef when it comes to produce, yes.
Tell me about Brad Jones and how Brad Jones changed your life one evening.
Well, you really did your homework. Brad Jones, yes, he's the apparent gardener from Orlando Junior Academy down the street of the school. The reason why I'm at the school is because of Brad Jones. He's a parent that had a vision and asked one question. He'd come to this restaurant a couple years ago, wanted to eat dinner in the garden one night, had dinner, invited me back out there to meet him. We talked about it, and he goes, hey, listen, I'm a parent at Junior Academy down the street. We have a beautiful garden. I really would like you to come down and help us out and talk to kids about gardening as a profession. So I went to the school, talked to the kids, you know, did the whole hands in the ground, dirty, planting seeds, talking about gardening and how you eat the food that you sow. Huge hit. So I did that a couple of times. Brad kept inviting me back to the school. Did that, did career day with the kids. Then one day Brad said, hey, listen, our cafeteria worker is going to retire after 35 years. Do you know somebody that might help us with the cafeteria program? I had some free time on my hands, so I said, well, let me do it, because I think it's really important for kids to have a healthy meal at school. The school lunch program is just as important as math and science in the school curriculum, I believe. So I took over the cafeteria program. I'd go to K in the morning, make all the lunches for the kids. I would go to the cafeteria, this is all volunteer work. I would serve the kids the lunch, run back to K, prep for dinner, work dinner at night, and that was done 5 days a week.
Wow.
And that's how the whole ball started with the whole school.
And did the kids, how did they get to know you and that you actually had a restaurant and that this is what you were also including in your commitment?
The whole thing was healthy food first, and then hung out with the kids. I'd throw them in the cooler, throw them in the freezer, you know, Chef Kevin, and then they wanted to come to the restaurant quite a bit to see where I cooked and see the garden, so we did field trips. So the kids were eating the food in the cafeteria, they come into my restaurant to see how I prepared it and see in the garden in the background and where I got it from. But Brad also had his own school garden on campus. So the kids were getting the garden component of the school curriculum at their campus. They were seeing my garden, eating healthy, and watching me prepare the food in the restaurant. They got full circle.
Wow.
Food, garden to plate.
Florida gardening specifically in your...
And what a challenge it is?
Yes.
Well, the best thing about Florida, first of all, is so many growing seasons. The downfall is that in the summertime here, it's so hot and humid, a lot of insects will be in the backyard garden. So we don't use any kind of pesticides or artificial sprays. The best way we found to control the pests is to be in the garden every single day. If you see one, you pick it up and throw it somewhere else, or you take that leaf that's infected, take it off, crumble it, and throw it in the trash. We try to plant things next to each other that help each other. For instance, flowers that bring a lot of bees, pollinators to the garden that might eat the other insects. So it's all about doing some research and finding out what works well together, but I won't be back there spraying any kind of, you know, Roundup or anything from that sort of thing.
And it's about 800 square feet back there.
You've done your homework again? Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, and then you just set up beds And talk a little bit about the trellis and, the grapevine.
Yeah. Well, when the garden was built, first, back in the day, it was one huge garden, untamed. All right, so things grew everywhere. The more that people asked to be in the garden, we decided we needed some kind of patio to seat them at. So we built the brick paver garden. We had 4 beds installed in the pavers, so you're surrounded by garden when you're eating dinner, and then kept the exterior of the patio just natural ground. That one takes a lot of time to work the soil. The inner beds are full of mushroom compost, organic compost. The exterior bed we have to cultivate quite often and watch it and fertilize it properly. We put the gazebo in the back corner, where in the beginning I had 3 tiny grapevines and a canopy over it. Well, they're muscadine grapes. They're from Florida. They grow here easily. They grew like a weed. So they overtook the whole canopy, so we took the top off of it. So now we have a whole grape cover to the canopy, which provides shade in the summertime for people dining there, and also gives us pounds of grapes that we harvest every fall and makes them really, really kick-ass jams and jellies out of. So
let's jump from your 800 square foot garden in the back to Brad Jones, who introduced you to the Orlando Junior Academy and working with the children in the gardens there, to how in a local community to a national profile for you, and how you came to be a guest of Michelle Obama's First Lady and her White House garden.
That was incredible, first of all. Very fortunate to be invited to the White House to meet Michelle Obama. That all started, the background was cooking and gardening with the kids and with the restaurant, but a friend of mine, Trish Sean, from a local farm and slow food movement, nominated me to go to the White House, and they did some research on my background and what I did, and got the invitation. So me and Trish flew up to DC, and one of a couple hundred chefs in the country that were picked for this, and we got to sit on the White House lawn, listen to the speeches by Michelle Obama, the White House chef, and some really big-time chefs in the DC area about the importance of school gardening and eating healthy. So I got to meet all them, hang out in the school garden. I saw the White House garden, which was incredible, by the way. Blows away my garden back here. But then again, it is the White House. You know, so you have a full-time gardener and a little bit of money behind them, not so much like me here, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. Not so much being at the White House and meeting the First Lady, but seeing that what I believe in and what I'm doing is not just on a small level, it's a huge national level. That a lot of chefs are getting involved with school gardening, teaching kids the importance of eating healthy, where the food comes from, how to grow the food. This way it provides for a healthier food system in the schools. And also, on a side note, when kids come to a restaurant, they know what to look for. They know the healthy options on the menu, not just burger and fries. They know to look for like vegetables and fresh farms and where the food comes from. So it's a really important life skill that they're learning.
Have you ever questioned doing anything else than what you're doing?
No. I get asked that quite a bit, and I tell the school kids all the time when we talk about careers, I go, kids, when you get older, whatever job you decide to do, make sure you enjoy doing it because you're going to do it for the rest of your life. So I'm very fortunate in my life that I found out what my passions were and what I enjoy doing early in life, because what I'm doing now, I love what I do. I've not woken up one day and said, oh my God, I have to go to work. I have to go to K. I got to go teach. The first day that happens is the day I quit.
So the teacher, Kevin, locally, we won't lose you from our community.
No.
But you will continue to speak on a national level and lobby in DC and
whatever it takes to give these kids a second chance, give them the proper chance in life. When they go to school, you know, I'm a big believer in that. The school, the kitchen program, the school lunch program is just as important as math or science in school, in class. You know, I keep fighting for that. You know, these kids need a fair chance of life. You know, we give them the head start they need. You know, so whatever I can do to show kids what food is, how to eat healthy, how to garden, how to harvest, and just enjoy life. That's why I'm here.
I love it. Thank you, Chef.
Anytime.
Wonderful talking with you.
You as well.
Thank you very much.